Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thanks for joining me for voting video number 286 in the incredible Mandela Effect voting video series. That's right, we're on video number 286, and we're going to be discussing Cowboys Aliens. Now, what do you recall was the name of this movie? I'm going to tell you what I recall, and I'm going to tell you why. And I'm going to show you some reality residue. And then I have a few other things that I want to discuss, so don't go anywhere. That'll be at the end of the video. It's going to be real quick. So I remember Cowboys versus Aliens. I remember when I first saw the trailer, I remember thinking, man, I want to see this. This should be cool. And I remember thinking that it was going to be an epic battle, and how are the Cowboys going to take on the aliens? And it was Cowboys versus Aliens. It was one against the other. That's my memory of hearing about this movie coming out. Well, apparently it's always been Cowboys and Aliens, which just sounds off to me. It's not what I remember. It was not Cowboys and Aliens. It was Cowboys versus Aliens. Thumb this video up if you recall Cowboys versus Aliens. Go ahead and thumb it down if it's always been Cowboys and Aliens for you, which makes perfect sense because that's what it's always been since 2011 in this new reality or timeline or whatever you want to call it. But I experienced a reality where it's Cowboys versus Aliens, and I'm sure many of you probably did as well. So we have some newspapers here for you. Cowboys versus Aliens. Dayton Daily News, 2010, Ohio. Cowboys versus Aliens. Cowboys versus Aliens. Here's a Cowboys and Aliens, which is what the official name of the movie is. But I remember experiencing reality where it was Cowboys versus Aliens, like in this Pittsburgh Post-Gazette here from September 2nd, 2011, exactly 7 years ago today. Here's Cowboys and Aliens. Here's another versus Aliens. Lots of newspapers have Cowboys versus Aliens around the time of the release of the movie in 2011. I thought it'd be interesting if we would ask Harrison Ford what he thinks, if he remembers the movie being called something else. So, Harrison, do you remember the movie being Cowboys versus Aliens? Come on, Harrison.
Been the same since the beginning.
God damn.
The title's been the same since the beginning. Cowboys and Aliens. My interest in it was the cowboy. To be frank, was the cowboy part of the story, and happily, that's the prevailing component. It is Cowboys and Aliens. In other words, when the aliens come along and stuff happens, it goes back, wisely I think, goes back to being a cowboy movie.
Okay, Harrison, so always was Cowboys and Aliens. That's perfectly understandable. Don't worry about it. Don't know if you're experiencing multiple realities. Actually, I do know you're experiencing multiple realities. Or that's my opinion. Let me state it that way. You may or may not know it, Mr. Ford, but you're shifting through billions of realities per second, but we're not going to get into that. We're not going to try and explain that, Mr. Ford. But anyway, it's Cowboys and Aliens for him. Lots of people on YouTube remember Cowboys versus Aliens. You have it here. Cowboys versus Aliens. I noticed that almost every Spanish reference said versus, which I thought was kind of interesting. So lots of Cowboys and Aliens, which you would expect. However, lots of Cowboys versus Aliens also, looking through YouTube. Here's Cowboys versus Aliens. Cine, which means movie, Cowboys versus Aliens. You go through Twitter, lots of people remember Cowboys versus Aliens. Lots of examples as you go through. I've evolved to this photo. I love this Cowboys versus Aliens pose. And here we have it here. So that's about it. Thumb up for versus, thumb down for and. I wanted to discuss real quick. I wanted to know if people would get triggered if I started to cover some older effects. Because we seem to be in that low point again where we're going to have a wave of shifts coming, but I'm not sure if we're there yet. I feel that down. I don't know how to explain it, but I just kind of feel down. I feel like there's going to be a new wave of energy coming, and then there'll be a whole new wave of videos popping up and changes and everything, and that'll be coming. This has happened several times throughout this journey of being conscious of the Mandela effect. So there's some older ones. I mean, I never even did a Berenstain bear video. I mean, I kind of wanted to do a Berenstain bear video. I mean, there's some other ones. Some of the... Oh, I was thinking about some other ones the other day. There's some ones of... what is it? Oh, the movie Interview with a Vampire. I don't think I did anything on that. I mean, I'd like to do some of those earlier ones. There's so many. There's hundreds of videos I have never even done. I didn't have time to do them all. So I'd like to cover some of those. So let me know if that's going to trigger you or not, or if that's cool, or, you know, if you're good with that. Why such small changes? A lot of people have been asking lately. Well, you know what? Whoever's behind this or whatever's causing the Mandela effect, I think knows that those of us experiencing it aren't quite ready for waking up in a new reality. It's like all of a sudden you wake up and you're in an apartment and you got a girlfriend, you guys got a kid or something, and it's like, well, where was my wife and my other kids? And I mean, come on. I mean, really? I mean, you're just going to wake up in a whole new reality? We're not ready for that. We're going to lose it. I mean, that would be just beyond bizarre. Like, how could we even cope if all of a sudden you walk outside and your white car is like blue and it's got 500 horsepower where it only had like 165 horsepower the day before? I mean, come on. I mean, people are just gonna, and then you're gonna be telling people, they're gonna be like, yeah, right, dude. And so anyway, I mean, we're not ready for that. That would just be too insane. So anyway, real quick, I went to a barbecue today in San Leandro, my hometown, which happens to be the hometown of Lucky's supermarket. So my dad, who worked at Lucky's in high school, he was saying to his cousin, and they're both in their mid-70s, he was saying, well, I worked at Lucky's in high school as a checker, as a senior. I was a bagger, you know, as like a junior or whatever, and then I became a checker. And she said, well, he said at Lucky's. And I'm thinking, okay, Dad, I remember you telling me recently mentioning Lucky Stores. So I thought, oh, Dad remembers Lucky Stores. But he said Lucky's. And then his cousin said, oh, what Lucky's did you work at, Ed? And I'm like, oh, wow, here we go. They're both talking about Lucky's. It's always been Lucky. So I didn't mention a thing. I'm not going to get into it with people. I just can't. I don't want to go there anymore. It's too difficult of a subject. And it kind of bugs me that that's where we're at with this. But that's where I'm at with this. I've discussed it with my dad. He's not willing to explore it. He's definitely experiencing the Mandela effect. I gave him the test. He got like 8 out of 10 wrong. And he's just thinking bad memory shit. And I'm like, oh, Dad, I remember I would have said the same thing as you on all these. And so do millions of other people remember the same thing. But he didn't want to get into it. He's not available for the discussion. And that's fine. I just got to accept that. So I thought that was interesting. They're both talking about Lucky. That's actually my first Mandela effect. And I noticed it after becoming aware of the Mandela effect. Lucky stores always, they went away. Okay, they went away. They were always Lucky's. My mom's like, yeah, I went shopping at Lucky's when I brought up to her. And I'm like, it's always been Lucky. She's like, what? I didn't go shopping at Lucky. I went to Lucky's. So anyway, that was my first effect because it went away like 10 years ago and then, or more. And then 7 years ago, I started seeing Lucky pop up. And I'm like, oh, look, Lucky's came back. But the apostrophe S is gone. They took it off. They rebranded it. They renamed it. So now it's Lucky now. Oh, wow, that's pretty cool. So, and then I went on with my life. And so someone did a video last year, and I'm like, oh, no, that's a name change. That's not a Mandela effect. Because I remember they changed the name, and I went and looked, and it was, everything I saw was Lucky since the 1940s. I'm like, what? That was Lucky's. I thought they changed the name. I noticed that like 8 years ago. So that's my first Mandela effect that